English moral stories for speaking practice vocabulary boost. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channel, where learning English becomes fun and easy through amazing stories. Today, we're going to enjoy beautiful moral stories that will not only improve your speaking skills but also help you remember and use powerful English vocabulary in real life. Each story is written in simple English, but full of useful expressions, so you can listen, repeat, and speak along to become more confident in English. Let's get started.
Story 1. King Midas and the Golden Touch. Long ago, in a grand kingdom surrounded by hills and rivers, lived a powerful king named Midas. He was known far and wide for his wealth, but he wanted more gold, more treasure, more riches. He believed that nothing was more important than gold. One day, as he was walking in his garden, he helped a mysterious traveler who had been lost in the forest. The traveler, who was actually a magical being in disguise, was grateful for the king's kindness. To reward Midas, the traveler granted him a wish. "I wish that everything I touch becomes gold," said the greedy king. The traveler warned him, "Think carefully. This gift can be a blessing or a curse." But Midas was too excited to listen. He rushed back to his palace and touched the chairs, the tables, the flowers. Everything turned to shining gold. His eyes sparkled with joy. For a while, he believed he had become the richest man on earth. But his happiness didn't last long. When he sat down to eat, the bread turned to gold. The water turned into liquid gold. He couldn't eat or drink anything. Then, to his horror, his little daughter came running to him for a hug. The moment he touched her, she too turned into a golden statue. King Midas was heartbroken. He ran back to the forest and begged the traveler to take the gift back. The traveler appeared again and said, "Now you have learned your lesson." He told Midas to go to a sacred river and wash his hands in the water. Midas did so, and when he returned, everything he had touched turned back to normal, including his beloved daughter. From that day on, Midas gave away much of his gold and became a wise and generous king. He never again let greed blind his heart. Moral: greed can take away the true treasures of life. Be content with what you have and value what truly matters, like love and family. Main vocabulary and meanings. Grand, large and impressive. The Grand Kingdom was surrounded by hills and rivers. Powerful, having great strength or control. King Midas was a powerful ruler. Wealth, a large amount of money or valuable things. He was known for his wealth. Treasure, valuable items like gold, silver, or jewels. He wanted more treasure and riches. Mysterious, something unknown or strange. He met a mysterious traveler in the forest. Traveler, a person who is on a journey. The traveler was actually a magical being. Reward, a gift given for doing something good. The traveler gave the king a reward. Grant, to give something officially. The traveler granted him a wish. Greedy, wanting more than you need. Midas was a greedy king who loved gold. Excited, very happy and eager. He was too excited to listen to the warning. Palace, the home of a king or queen. He rushed back to his palace. Shining, bright and glowing. Everything turned into shining gold. Horror, a strong feeling of fear or shock. To his horror, his daughter turned into gold. Statue, a figure made of stone, metal, or gold. She became a golden statue. Heartbroken, very sad or full of sorrow. King Midas was heartbroken. Sacred, holy or very special in religion. He was told to wash his hands in a sacred river. Generous, willing to give and share. He became a wise and generous king. Greed, a strong desire for more, especially money. Greed had made him blind to love. Content, happy with what you have. He learned to be content with simple things. Value, to see the importance of something. He learned to value love and family.
Story 2, The Cunning Fox and the Clever Camel. Once upon a time, in a dry desert near a quiet riverbank, lived a cunning fox and a simple, gentle camel. They were unlikely friends. The fox was small and sly, always full of tricks, while the camel was large, slow, and calm. Yet, they often went together in search of food. One day, the fox had an idea. "Let's go to the farmer's field across the river," he said. "There are fresh vegetables and fruits. We can eat our fill." The camel hesitated. "But crossing the river is risky, and the farmer guards his land." The fox smiled slyly. "Don't worry. I'll guide you. You're strong enough to carry me on your back." Tempted by the thought of fresh food, the camel agreed. The two crossed the river. The camel swam while the fox sat on his back. Soon, they reached the lush green field and quietly began to eat. The camel munched peacefully, but the fox, after eating, started howling loudly, "Ayo! Ayo!" The camel was shocked. "What are you doing? You'll bring the farmer." The fox laughed. "It's my habit to sing after a good meal. I can't help it." As expected, the angry farmer came running with a big stick. The fox quickly ran away into the bushes, but the poor camel, being slow, was caught and beaten badly. Limping and hurt, the camel slowly made his way back to the river. The fox reappeared and said, "Don't be upset. Let's go back. I'll ride on your back again." Though angry, the camel remained silent. He let the fox sit and started swimming across the river. When they reached the middle, the camel suddenly stopped. "What are you doing?" cried the fox. The camel calmly replied, "It's my habit to take a bath in the middle of the river. I can't help it." And with that, the camel began to roll in the water. The fox slipped off his back and fell into the river, struggling to stay afloat. The camel reached the shore safely, while the soaked fox crawled out later, shivering, angry, and silent. Moral: if you trick others, be ready to face a trick in return. What goes around comes around. Main vocabulary and meanings: cunning, clever in a tricky or dishonest way. The cunning fox always had some plan. Foolish, lacking good sense or judgment. The camel was kind but a bit foolish. Riverbank, the land beside a river. They lived near a quiet riverbank. Unlikely, not expected or usual. They were unlikely friends. Sly, sneaky and clever. The fox smiled slyly. Tempted, feeling a strong desire to do something. The camel was tempted by fresh food. Lush, rich, green, and full of growth. The farmer's field was lush with vegetables. Munched, ate something with a soft sound. The camel munched peacefully. Howling, making a loud crying sound. The fox began howling loudly. Habit, something done regularly. The fox said it was his habit to sing. Angry, feeling mad or upset. The farmer came out angry. Beaten, hit again and again. The camel was beaten by the farmer. Limping, walking with difficulty due to pain. The camel limped back to the river. Silent, not speaking. The camel remained silent, hiding his plan. Float, to stay on the surface of water. The fox struggled to float after falling. Soaked, completely wet. The fox was soaked when he crawled out. Shivering, shaking due to cold or fear. The fox was shivering after his dip. Revenge, returning harm for harm. The camel got gentle revenge without anger. Trick, a clever or sneaky action to fool someone. The fox loved to play tricks. Calmly, in a peaceful and quiet way. The camel calmly taught the fox a lesson.
Story 3, The Pied Piper of Hamelin. Long ago, in the small town of Hamelin, nestled between green hills and a flowing river, the people lived a peaceful life, until the town was overrun by rats. Big rats, small rats, black rats, brown rats, they were everywhere. They chewed on food, ran through houses, and frightened the people. Nothing could stop them. The townspeople begged the mayor to take action. "We must get rid of the rats," they cried. The mayor and his council tried traps and poison, but the rats only increased in number. One day, a strange man arrived. He wore colorful clothes and had a long feather in his hat. In his hand, he carried a pipe. "I am the Pied Piper," he said. "I can drive all the rats away, but I ask for a reward, 1,000 gold coins." Desperate, the mayor agreed. "If you can rid us of the rats, the money will be yours." The Pied Piper smiled, walked into the middle of the town, and began to play a soft, magical tune on his pipe. Suddenly, the rats stopped in their tracks. One by one, they turned and followed the sound. The piper walked through the streets, playing his tune, and all the rats followed him. He led them to the river, and as he played by the riverbank, the rats jumped into the water and drowned. The people of Hamelin rejoiced. They danced, sang, and cheered. But when the piper returned to collect his reward, the mayor broke his promise. "We were only joking about the gold," he laughed. "Take 20 coins and be happy." The piper's eyes grew cold. "You broke your word," he said calmly. "You will regret this." That night, while the town slept, the piper returned. This time, he played a different tune, a tune so sweet, it stirred the dreams of every child in Hamelin. In the morning, the townspeople woke up to silence. The streets were empty. Their children were gone. No one knew where the piper had taken them. Some say he led them to a magical land. Others say they vanished forever. But the town never saw them again. From that day forward, the people of Hamelin remembered the price of breaking a promise. Moral: always keep your promises. Dishonesty may lead to great loss. Main vocabulary and meanings: overrun, filled in large numbers, out of control. The town was overrun by rats. Townspeople, the people who live in a town. The townspeople begged the mayor for help. Mayor, the leader of a town or city. The mayor promised to reward the piper. Council, a group of people who make decisions. The town council met to discuss the rat problem. Desperate, hopeless, needing help urgently. They were desperate to get rid of the rats. Strange, unusual, or unfamiliar. A strange man in colorful clothes appeared. Pied Piper, a person with magical charm. Here, the name of the man. The Pied Piper offered his help. Reward, a gift given for doing something helpful. The piper asked for a reward of gold. Tune, a melody or musical sound. He played a magical tune on his pipe. Riverbank, the land next to a river. He led the rats to the riverbank. Drowned, died by being underwater. The rats drowned in the river. Rejoiced, felt great joy or happiness. The people rejoiced when the rats were gone. Broke a promise, failed to do what was agreed. The mayor broke his promise. Regret, to feel bad about something wrong. The piper warned the mayor he would regret it. Vanished, disappeared suddenly. The children vanished and never returned. Magical, full of magic or wonder. Some believe he took them to a magical land. Feather, soft part of a bird, used for decoration. He wore a hat with a long feather. Softly, gently or quietly. He played his pipe softly in the night. Empty, with nothing inside. The streets were empty in the morning. Loss, something or someone gone. The town suffered a great loss.
Story 4, Tenali Raman and the Thieves. Long ago in the kingdom of Vijayanagara, there lived a witty and wise man named Tenali Raman. He was one of the cleverest ministers in King Krishnadevaraya's court. Known for his intelligence, humor, and quick thinking, Tenali Raman solved many difficult problems using nothing but his sharp mind. One evening, as Tenali was returning home, he overheard two thieves hiding behind a tree. They were whispering about breaking into his house that night. "That man is rich," said one thief. "We must rob his house after dark." Tenali quietly smiled to himself and continued walking, pretending he hadn't heard a thing. But in his mind, he had already made a clever plan. As soon as he reached home, he called his wife and said loudly, "Dear, let's gather all our gold and jewels and put them in a box. We must hide it in the well tonight. I heard there are thieves nearby." His wife was surprised but understood he had some plan. They filled a big box with stones and tied it with ropes. Then they pretended to carry it heavily to the well. As expected, the two thieves watched from the shadows. "Oh no," whispered one thief. "He's hiding the treasure in the well." Late that night, the two thieves crept into the backyard. Without making a sound, they took turns pulling up water from the well, hoping to find the treasure. They worked for hours, bucket after bucket, but all they got was water and mud. Still, they didn't give up. By morning, Tenali Raman came out and smiled at the tired thieves, still pulling water. "Oh dear friends," he said cheerfully, "you've watered my garden so nicely. Thank you for your hard work. You won't find treasure in the well, but I hope you found some wisdom." The thieves were shocked and embarrassed. But they couldn't help laughing at their own foolishness. They bowed before Tenali and promised never to steal again. Moral: wisdom and cleverness can defeat even the strongest of enemies. Think smart, not hard. Main vocabulary and meanings: witty, funny and smart at the same time. Tenali Raman was witty and wise. Minister, an important official in the king's court. He was a trusted minister of King Krishnadevaraya. Overheard, heard something secretly or by accident. He overheard the thieves talking behind a tree. Thieves, people who steal. Two thieves plan to rob his house. Pretending, acting as if something is true. He pretended not to hear their plan. Clever, smart and quick in thinking. He made a clever plan that night. Jewels, precious stones used for decoration. He said he would hide his gold and jewels in the well. Stones, hard solid objects found in nature. He filled the box with stones, not real treasure. Ropes, thick cords used for tying things. They tied the box with ropes and dropped it in the well. Shadows, dark shapes made when light is blocked. The thieves watched from the shadows. Crept, moved slowly and quietly. The thieves crept into his garden at night. Bucket, a round container used to carry water. They pulled up bucket after bucket of water. Mud, wet dirt. All they found was mud and water. Tired, feeling exhausted or needing rest. By morning, the thieves were very tired. Cheerfully, in a happy and friendly way, Tenali greeted them cheerfully. Gave water to plants. He joked that they had watered his garden well. Foolishness, lack of wisdom or good sense. They realized their foolishness and laughed. Embarrassed, feeling shy or ashamed. They were embarrassed by their mistake. Promised, said they would do something. They promised not to steal again. Wisdom, the quality of being smart and sensible. Tenali Raman used wisdom instead of force.
Story 5. The King and the Kingdom of Rats. Once upon a time, in a large and peaceful kingdom, there ruled a wise but proud king named Virendra. He was known for his bravery and fairness, and his palace was surrounded by green gardens, tall trees, and flowing streams. One hot summer afternoon, as the king sat under the royal banyan tree, he saw a strange sight: hundreds of rats walking in a straight line toward the palace, their leader in front, wearing a tiny crown made of leaves. The guards were shocked. "Rats are entering the royal garden," they shouted. But the king raised his hand. "Let them come," he said curiously. The Rat King stepped forward, bowed low, and said in a tiny but clear voice, "O great king, we come with a humble request. Our underground homes have dried up, and we have no water left. Many of our little ones are thirsty and suffering. Please help us." The courtiers laughed. "They are just rats. Why listen to them?" But King Virendra stayed silent. After a moment, he said, "Every creature deserves water. Even the smallest life is valuable." He ordered his men to dig tiny water canals from the royal lake to the dry areas near the forest, just enough to flow underground. Soon, the rats had water again. They danced with joy and celebrated. The Rat King returned to the palace. "Thank you, Your Majesty. We will never forget this kindness. If the day ever comes when we can help you, we shall." The king smiled, thinking, what help could rats ever give me? Still, he nodded and went back to his royal duties. Months passed. One day, a powerful enemy kingdom declared war. The enemy's army was large and well prepared. King Virendra fought bravely, but during one fierce battle, his army was surrounded. The enemy soldiers blocked their escape and aimed their arrows high, ready to launch a final attack. That night, as the soldiers rested and slept with their bows beside them, something unexpected happened. Thousands of rats crept silently into the enemy camp. Using their sharp teeth, they began to gnaw through the strings of every bow and bite the wooden arrows. By morning, the enemy soldiers woke up to find their weapons broken and useless. Panic spread through the enemy camp. Without weapons, they couldn't fight. King Virendra's army attacked, and the battle was won. The king stood on the battlefield, amazed. What happened? Who saved us? Suddenly, the Rat King appeared once again and said, "We did not forget your kindness, O king. You gave us water when no one else cared. This was our way to thank you." King Virendra knelt and bowed to the rats. "Today, I have learned the greatest lesson: even the smallest creature can be mighty. Never underestimate anyone's power." From that day forward, King Virendra ruled with greater humility and respect for all living beings. Moral: every creature, big or small, has value. Kindness always returns in unexpected ways. Main vocabulary and meanings. Majesty, a title of respect for a king or queen. Thank you, Your Majesty, said the Rat King. Courtiers, people who work in the king's palace. The courtiers laughed at the idea of rats speaking. Humble, modest and respectful. The rats came with a humble request. Deserve, to be worthy of something. The king believed every life deserves care. Canals, small waterways used to move water. The king ordered tiny water canals to help the rats. Declare war, to officially start a battle between kingdoms. An enemy kingdom declared war. Surrounded, trapped from all sides. The king's army was surrounded. Arrows, sharp weapons shot from a bow. The enemies prepared their arrows to attack. Creep, to move slowly and quietly. Thousands of rats crept into the enemy camp. Gnaw, to bite or chew something hard. The rats gnawed the bowstrings and arrows. Panic, sudden fear and confusion. Panic spread in the enemy camp. Weapons, tools used in war, like swords and bows. The soldiers found their weapons destroyed. Kindness, being nice and caring toward others. The rats returned the king's kindness. Thirsty, needing water. The rats were thirsty and suffering. Gratitude, a strong feeling of thankfulness. The rats showed their gratitude in action. Underground, below the surface of the earth. The rats lived in underground homes. Fierce, very strong and intense. The battle was fierce and dangerous. Mighty, powerful and strong. Even the smallest can be mighty. Respect, to treat someone or something with care. The king learned to respect all living beings. Underestimate, to think someone or something is weaker than it really is. The king realized he had underestimated the rats.